I don't understand technology at all. I only understand numbers, business models, people, but technologies I don't understand. And I met Aleph, which is a leading VC fund in Israel, and Shochat is one of the founders, the co-founder in Israel. And when we met, it was very frustrating for me. 3 months later, we sit here. I finished every interview with one question: do you own Bitcoins? I want to start this session with the same question. Eden, do you own any Bitcoins?
I bought Bitcoins early 2012, $4.9. That's the rate. Now it's depends which day. It's $2,000 to $3,000 per Bitcoin. But it's the wrong question to ask today.
It's a wrong question.
It's the wrong question to ask today. If you ask about Ethereum, which is the new kid on the block in cryptocurrency, they appreciated 200 times in the last 12 months. So whoever
Do you own this one as well?
Yeah, but not enough.
Not enough.
That's.
So talk to us a little bit about yourself, because tech people are usually not doing a great job sharing their wisdom. You are the opposite. You're explaining in simple words very complex technologies. What's your background? I think you started as an entrepreneur, then there was a very famous exit to Facebook, and now you're like an investor. Give us a little bit of background, please.
So I build stuff. All my life I've built stuff. I grew up in Nigeria, and there was nothing to do there, so I learned how to program. So there was like climb trees. That was the alternative. But I moved back to Israel, built 4 companies. The first one, no business model whatsoever, 99, so it was fine, shells. One of my bigger mistakes, 6 years wasted of my life. But the interesting thing is 99, right? You remember the happy days. So my board came and said, you're raising capital, go hire some employees, because the current valuation model is number of employees times millions of dollars. Right? But that's the 99 heydays. Third company, Eternity, sold to Riverbed recently. We were at $35 million revenue run rate. Fourth company, Face.com, sold to Facebook. This is the face recognition engine behind Facebook. And I've moved over to the dark side. So my most
What is the dark side?
The dark side is venture capital.
Why is it dark?
It's not the builders.
It's not builders.
It's not the builders.
If you help 5 builders with capital, you are a builder times 5?
Yeah, your leverage is significant. And I don't think you're a builder. As a venture capitalist, you're a supporter. You're sometimes the psychologist. You're definitely the funder. Sometimes a friend, sometimes less so. You're not a builder.
Okay. So let's talk about these new technologies. We want to do a bit of a dummy's guide for me. We start with virtual and mixed reality. Facebook gave an amazing presentation this morning on what they do with reality, and they're creating fun realities. What do you think about virtual and mixed reality?
So first, I love them. So that caveat I have to put in place. When I was 12, I went to something called the Dizengoff Center in Tel Aviv, Israel, because it had the first VR headset that weighted like 10 kilos and was graphic quality of a CGA or an EGA monitor, like very, very old. So I love it. I simply love it. The numbers are not that good, though. So how many entrepreneurs in the crowd? Just raise of hands. So if you need to make a decision right now, whether you build a VR or an AR startup, take these numbers into account. Shipments 2016, shipments of VR headsets were 6 million the whole year. It actually slowed down Q1. So Q1 is actually slower, which makes the point that it's likely that Q4 was gadgets, right? So VR right now is gadgets, even though Oculus is amazing. The thing is, you know how many shipments of iPhones were last year?
600 million?
200 million. Android, 1 billion, right? So it's 6 million customer base, you're nowhere, right? So if you're building a startup, it's a problem.
When is it getting to go big?
That's a good question. So AR, that can be a much bigger business potential, because AR, augmented reality, you see reality and add some information on top of it, you actually do have many more hours a day. right? Because VR, it's a replacement to media. So you see movies. AR, you actually go down the street and say, oh, the face recognition engine said, this is Marco, you last met him 2 years ago. This is his wife's name. This is the number.
Sounds like face.com, what you did.
So that's entirely possible, except I don't think Facebook would do it. But AR headsets, 50,000 all of last year.
Okay, so virtual reality and
AR, timing is really important.
early
Timing is
mover
important.
disadvantage is terrible.
Companies die of one thing and one thing only, they run out of capital. That's the thing that kills
If
companies.
you're too early and you don't have this demand side, your supply side, maybe nobody cares.
Peter Thiel said something that is really interesting. He said, I don't want to be first to market, I want to be last to market, right? So Google is definitely not the first to market.
Okay, let's go to the next. We had Uber last year here on stage. They drove with a German Trabant together with the CEO of Daimler into the stage. Electric and autonomous cars.
Yeah, definitely. So electric is what's going to happen, and it makes sense because of a variety of reasons. The supply chain there, the value chain for companies is quite limited for startups because you can do the charge stations, you can do the planning, you have
a big company game.
It's mostly a big company game, and your part in the value chain is fairly limited if you're looking at what you can supply. Autonomous cars is really interesting. The problem is, for one example, for an autonomous car to drive on the street, it needs to have a super high resolution map. So the Google Maps that everyone here is using, this is a few feet precision.
If my car drives as reliable as Google shows me the traffic, I will never go into the car.
So it's even worse, right? So for that to work, you need to have 2 to 3 inch level maps. You know what's the current? The US has 4 million miles of roads. Do you know how many of them are mapped to that 2-inch scale?
Nope.
0.1%.
So it will take some time before we put ourselves in autonomously driven cars.
So assume that will happen 5 to 10 years. If, as a startup person, what I'd look at is what are the previous things in the value chain that I can take advantage of. So definitely not in the car itself, but all the mapping of it, that's an interesting field.
Interesting. Internet of Things.
Internet of Things,
or machine to machine, I was told.
So there's a great saying, I was doing pivots when they were still called fuck-ups. I think IoT is the same way. As people were doing IoT 20 years, the question, but now it was rebranded. So I would ask about the use case. Like, there's a great company doing concrete sensing that you check how fast is concrete hardening, and they save 25% of the building time. That's a great business.
We had Sigfox on stage, the world's best funded IoT company.
Yep.
And TeamViewer normally comes every day, but Andreas had a meeting in the US, he had to cancel. But they are the two I know and do a lot of stuff where they put sensors into things in order to
That's really interesting.
know where they are.
That's really interesting.
And measure it. Artificial intelligence, deep learning. It's one of your favorites,
It's definitely a favorite. So Face.com, when we sold, we were the best in the world. We had about 79% accuracy, which was 30% better than anyone else, including Carnegie Mellon. That was the best in class 5 years ago, right?
And Face.com was facial recognition.
Facial recognition. Deep learning is the biggest, most profound change in computer science in the last 20 years. And it started off Canada, of all places. But my co-founder at Face.com says that today, if you don't add artificial intelligence to any product that you do, you basically are at a disadvantage from someone that does. The key word there is deep learning. It's actually neural network, something that was supposed to work in the 80s, but never worked. And suddenly, somebody decided, oh, there's GPUs, graphical processing units. They're much better than CPU on parallel computing, and tried it out. And it worked.
So deep learning was now driven mostly by better computer power?
Better computer power, and the fact that somebody actually cared enough to try it out. And the amazing thing is, 5 years ago, best in class, Face.com. The numbers today, same team at Facebook, the last published numbers are 97.25. Face++, which is a Russian company, are at 99.5. And another company is claiming 99.7%. Now, humans are at 97.5. So computers are significantly better now than humans looking at 400 million people and saying, oh, this is Marco.
Well, I have a challenge here at the conference. I don't recognize everyone all the time.
Of course.
Maybe you can help me and putting some Google glasses on and
So the amazing thing today is if you take the last academia article and just implement it, nothing more than that, you're already at 99.8. So it's an amazing thing, and if you want to do additional research, there's something called GAN, which is adversarial networks. It's actually two neural networks that compete against each other and learn how to beat each other. And that's the biggest change. It's only 2 years old, and it's the fastest possible way towards real AI, general purpose AI. So today, the estimates are 5 to 10 years before unsupervised learning, meaning the next stage towards AI. I think it happens far, far faster.
amazing. Another personal favorite of yours, robotics.
So robotics, let me give you some numbers. So 10 years ago, 900,000 industrial robots in the world. 10 years ago. This year,
How many were in Japan of those?
more than a third, close to half. So this year, now 2 million, which seems a lot, right? So 2x, not that great. Amazon is amazing. So Amazon did the Kiva acquisition, and the Kiva acquisition changed the whole warehousing. Amazon 2 years ago had 15,000 robots. Amazon now has 45,000.
They are not unionized, so for
They're
them
not.
it's
They're
easier,
definitely
I
not
guess,
unionized, and
to have robots.
It's another interesting field, which is, okay, what do you do with all the jobs that get taken? And there's basic income, there are other thoughts, but then how do you bring money to basic income? So the innovation that will happen will also happen on the government level, right? Like, do you tax robots? As a government, okay, you implemented robots, so you took away jobs, so you now, as a company, need to pay me tax because I now need to spend money in order for other people that don't have jobs to get basic income. Right?
Wow.
3 times 2 years, and that's the biggest change because Amazon now has the best margins in the world. Everyone else need the same margins as Amazon. So you'll see a robotics arms race going on.
The last topic, ICOs.
ICOs, initial coin offerings, but you're not supposed to call them that because then the SEC will go after you. Ethereum is a new cryptocurrency, is just two years old. Started off, it's now 300 times worth. Just because we're running out of time, just in the last 2 weeks, this ICO thing, meaning people that have a concept, they pitch it out, and they ask for people with Ethereum, so people that have 300 times money appreciation, to fund them. And people with a white paper, yeah, you have here investors, you have entrepreneurs. People with just white paper, in the last 2 weeks, Bancor raised 140 million in 3 hours. $140 million, and they had a white paper. Ethereum base, but they
theoretical
currency.
Okay, Ethereum, it's a funny name, no?
It's not theory, it's
I think
Ethereum.
Simplex can help us changing those, or Shapeshift from yesterday, to buy real-life things, Lufthansa tickets and others.
Lufthansa tickets, others. The last one is 2 days ago. Status, another company, raised 240 million. 240 million in 2 hours. So it's a funny money industry, but it's the most interesting industry today. So if you have taken one thing from those 15 minutes, do a Google search for ICOs and learn what it is because it's changing the world as we speak.
Well, Eden, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We're doing a NOAH in Tel Aviv together, September 13th. And the whole conference is only about this stuff.
Excellent.